In Australia, everyone knows Ned Kelly and all the other men of violence who made their mark on our society. Sportsmen are remembered and make headlines for all the wrong reasons, mostly associated with violence and unlawful behaviour. Men of peace with love in their hearts are doomed to be forgotten. Such is our society today. In Innisfail, North Queensland, lies the grave of a man from yesterday, Jose Paronella, and beside it is the grave of his beloved wife, Margarita. Jose was a dreamer who just wanted to make people happy, a concept at odds with today's world where to have a selfish attitude is considered the ultimate in coolness. Jose's story begins with his birth in the Spanish province of Catalonia in 1887. Life was pretty tough in the Spain of those days, and Jose's family struggled to survive in their two-room mud and sandstone cottage. Strong family support was an important factor to survival, and Jose's grandmother was a familiar figure in the household, and at night would tell the children wonderful stories of romantic Spanish castles and the nobles whose lives were filled with drama and excitement. Her stories made a deep impression on the youngest child, Jose. As he grew older and wanting to lessen the burden on his family, Jose left school early and was fortunate enough to obtain work in the nearby village as a baker. After a couple of years learning his trade, restlessness overtook him again and he decided to try his luck in the nearby city of Pamplona. Before embarking on his journey, however, he travelled back to the village to say farewell to his family. It was here that an arrangement was made whereby he was betrothed to Matilda, the beautiful daughter of a family friend. In Pamplona he quickly made friends and learnt that there was much money to be made in a place called Australia. "That's for me," thought Jose, and withdrew all his savings to purchase his ticket. He sent Matilda a message to say that he would be back for her when he made his fortune. At the age of 26, he left Spain and arrived in Australia in August 1913. The first work he found was in the mining industry, but the appalling conditions and the intense heat left him less than impressed. After 4 months of this, he drifted north to the Innisfail area where he became a cane cutter. Some might say out of the pot and into the frying pan, but Jose saw it as a challenge and an opportunity to go further. It was tough work, but Jose survived. Not only that, but he put his shrewd mind to work and bought a block of land that nobody else wanted. With guts and determination, he cleared the land and planted his first sugarcane crop. Jose was now on his way. In the following years he bought and improved many more properties, which later sold for handsome profits, and in doing so he amassed a considerable amount of money. It was time now for Jose to think about his dream, for those early days of his childhood and his grandma's stories made a deep impression on him. He wanted a castle of his own, a Spanish castle in tropical Queensland. However, there were other things that he would have to do first. Most important of all was to become an Australian citizen and then to return to Spain for his bride-in-waiting. The first was relatively easy to accomplish, the latter not so simple, for Matilda, not having heard from Jose in all these years, had married somebody else. Undaunted as always and being a practical man, Jose married her sister Margarita instead. It was now 1925, and for their honeymoon Jose took his bride on a grand tour of Europe. With the world at their feet, the happy couple decided to return to Australia via the United States. On arrival in Innisfail, Margarita was utterly dismayed at the huge differences in culture, climate and surroundings. Despite this, however, she supported her husband in his endeavours and gave birth to baby Teresa later the same year. Jose, meanwhile, was on the lookout for a suitable site on which to construct his castle. He eventually found a perfect spot beside a waterfall at Mina Creek, 15 kilometres west of Innisfail. It was to be another 5 years, however, before the purchase of the land could be finalised and work on the site begun. When the clearing work was finished, Jose was ready to make a start. Sand and gravel could be obtained from the nearby creek, but cement would have to be imported from Germany and corrugated iron for the roof from England. Labour could be provided by his cane-cutting friends and from the huge pool of unemployed, as the Great Depression was now beginning to have an effect. The cottage was the first structure to be built, and they moved into it on Christmas Eve 1931. Jose was now ready for the next phase. To complete his dream, he would now build the castle and pleasure gardens. He had built the castle many times in his head, and now it was time to see if he could breathe reality into his vision. Despite the many difficulties, Jose and his helpers did build his fairy tale castle. It even had a grand ballroom, which doubled as a cinema, and an elegant staircase that led down to the picnic area below the falls. In the bottom area, he constructed tennis courts and gardens with refreshment rooms to serve them. Later, he installed his own hydroelectric plant that gave the complex its own electricity, quite a marvel for the time when kerosene lamps were the norm for the area. There was one thing, however, that did not sit well with the locals. Because of the natural colouring in the sand that was used, the castle took on a decidedly pink hue. A Spanish castle that looked out over the cane fields was bad enough, but a pink one was too much. So Jose and Margarita got busy with the whitewash, and the pink hue was replaced with a more respectable white. It was now 1935, with all the major work completed and replanting with the native vegetation underway. So now Paronella Park and Pleasure Gardens was now open for business. It was an instant success, with people coming from near and far to see the Spanish castle in the cane fields. It quickly became the centre of social life in the area, and Jose, ever the romantic, made sure all the pathways were wide enough for two people. One pathway even led to a tunnel of love, which took the lovers into a pretty glade with a small waterfall. Boats were available for young beaux to row their girlfriends to the main falls, and should they decide to go behind the falls, there was even an umbrella on hand to prevent the spray from wetting the pretty girl's dress. With the onset of World War II, Paronella Park became an important rest and recreation location for war-weary servicemen, both Australian and American, from the nearby bases of Gordonvale and Cairns. However, the uninhibited servicemen were not accustomed to wearing swimming costumes and presented Jose with a bit of a problem. No worries, thought Jose, and included a free pair of swimming trunks in their admission price, so everybody was happy. The grand ballroom doubled up as a cinema and a wedding reception area, but most of all it was remembered for its dancing, music and laughter beneath its big mirrored ball. It was a home away from home for the servicemen, and Margarita's cooking with homegrown vegetables and herbs won high praise for its culinary art and generous servings. When the war ended and the rejoicing was over, post-war Australia found itself changed forever. People now wanted to see more of the country that so many had sacrificed their lives for, and tourism took off in a big way. Motor cars became more affordable and everyone wanted to go to Queensland.
He makes the company jump to the bar. He's a boogie boogie bugle boy of company B.
Paronella Park was well situated to take full advantage of this surge in tourism. Nature, however, doesn't like its supremacy over all things to be challenged, and Jose, by building his castle where he did, defied its authority. In the summer of 1946, a cyclone built up in the Coral Sea, and southeast winds picked up the moisture and moved it onto the Queensland coast. The intense rain depression brought widespread torrential rain to the entire region. Upstream from Mina Creek, a dangerous situation was developing. A large number of logs, some 6 feet in diameter, had been piled up near the creek ready for shipment. The creek was now in flood and the rapidly rising water had lifted some of the logs into the stream. Between the logging site and Jose's castle was a railway bridge which, when the logs hit, at first acted like a dam. At Paronella Park the falls became eerily silent and the hydroelectric generator stopped. Everyone there was overcome with a sense of dread. At the railway bridge, the pressure of the rising water and the increasing amount of debris and logs became too much. The bridge finally collapsed and sent a 50-foot wall of water and logs directly towards Paronella Park. Nature was now in control and no man could stop her. All Jose could do was to watch helplessly as the raging torrent carrying the huge logs converged on his dream park. Concrete balustrades were picked up and thrown into the air and masonry tables uprooted from the ground. The raging torrent tossed the logs around like matchsticks and smashed them into the pavilion and cafe. Doors and windows were torn out and the piano and furniture either smashed or carried away by the raging waters. When the flood waters subsided, Jose surveyed the damage with a heavy heart. The pavilion and cafe were too badly damaged and would have to be closed. The buildings on the upper level, though badly damaged, could in time be repaired, as could the hydroelectricity plant. But it would all take time and money, and Paronella Park would have to be closed for an indefinite period while the rebuilding was being done. Fate also had another blow for Jose as he was diagnosed with inoperable stomach cancer. Jose, the Spanish dreamer, passed away on the 23rd of August 1948 in the arms of his beloved Margarita. Again, fate was not yet finished with Jose's fairy tale castle, for in 1979 the grand ballroom with its beautiful black bean floor and mirrored ball caught fire and was destroyed. Jose's dream, however, did not die, for Paronella Park has new owners who have vowed to preserve and restore its vitality. It has once again become a popular place for tourists to visit, with daily tours that offer visitors a glimpse into Jose's world. One thing that would absolutely delight the Spanish dreamer is that the park is again very popular for weddings. So the story that began in a Spanish village in 1887 still continues.